What's going on, guys? It's your boy C Lemons back again with the hacks. So it's no secret that the Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and Coast Guard. Hold on. Is the Coast Guard still a thing? Hold on, let me check. Yeah, it's still a thing. Google says the Coast Guard is still a thing. You're good to go. Sorry about that, needed further clarification. Like I was saying, these branches are struggling to meet their recruiting goals and quota. I mean, look at the bonuses they're giving out and the multiple incentives that are involved. But the question that comes to mind is, why aren't people joining our military branches? According to Pentagon data, only 23% of Americans aged 17 to 24 are eligible to join without being granted a waiver. This is down 29% in recent years. And of those 23%, only 9% of the young people show a propensity to serve, according to the Defense Department polling data shared with ABC News. It's the lowest number seen in 15 years. So we can gather that each branch is fighting over a small number of young people to join. Now this explains why recruiters seem so thirsty for you to talk to them.
And you hate to see it, but more than that, you love to see it.
Before we deep dive into the reasons why nobody is joining, let's have a moment of silence to admire this cute baby giraffe and gently tap that like button while you are doing it. Thanks for helping out the channel. A former senior military official told ABC News that today's recruiters face a great challenge in pitching the benefits of enlisting to young people, with private companies using impressive incentives to entice prospects. He stated many of the things that we used to offer, like the GI Bill, are being offered by private industry today, so there is no longer a benefit. This brings us to our first reason, which is the competitive job market. The current white-hot labor market, which many more jobs available than people to fill them, is a major factor, as rising civilian wages and benefits make military service less enticing. According to military.com, one major general they interviewed said, when someone can start at Target for $29 an hour with educational benefits, they begin looking at the competition. Starbucks, Google, Amazon, the battle for talent amidst this current labor shortage is intense. Paired with those competitive offers for workers are a large number of service members retiring, some having delayed leaving the ranks during the pandemic that saw huge instability in the job market, which called for the U.S. Department of Labor Veterans Employment and Training Services, known as VETS, to anticipate that around 150,000 service members would transition out of the military annually as a part of its budget justification documents. So all of these variables has caused branches to roll out bonus payouts aimed at attracting new service members to replace those outgoing veterans, which are at an all-time high. The Army started offering recruiting bonuses of up to $50,000 in January, with the Air Force following suit, promoting up to $50,000, the most it can legally offer for certain career fields. Then the Navy followed with its offer of $25,000 to those willing to ship out in a matter of weeks, noting the bonuses are a result of unprecedentedly competitive job market. A Navy spokesman released a statement to military.com in a phone interview that the private sector is doing things we haven't seen them do before to try and attract talent, so we have to stay competitive. Next, and the biggest one of them all, we have to discuss the lack of qualified applicants eligible to join, mostly due to weight standards. Military.com states the past legal run-ins or drug history prevent potential recruits from joining, and more Americans are overweight. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 40% of adults aged 20 to 39 are obese. That problem has been deemed a national security by some because it causes an increasingly shallow pool for potential recruits. Pentagon data shows 77% of youth 16 to 24 aren't qualified for military service without waivers. And of that, almost 44% of such youth are ineligible for service for multiple reasons, the most prevalent being overweight. Not to mention, only about 40% of Americans who are prime recruiting age are vaccinated against the virus. Outright refusal to get the shot immediately precludes joining the force and short circuits any pitch from recruiters. A former senior official within the Army said the poor shape of some of the incoming troops has led to Army to stop trying to have them run within the first 2 weeks of basic training. He said, quote, they have to teach them how to run, and they've had issues with bone density to the point that when they do run, they've ended up breaking a leg or worse, a hip. He then stated, I've even heard in some cases they're putting them on diets of Ensure in order to build their bone density.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
If this isn't bad enough, in an attempt to expand its base of applicants, the Army advertised that it was offering limited eligibility for applicants who do not have a GED or high school diploma to enlist in the regular Army, which they quickly reversed because who really thought this was a good idea? Even though there are bright people out there without degrees, this move just created too many unnecessary battles not needed to be had. So this lack of qualified candidates has led many to question the viability of the all-volunteer force that we currently have in our military. One former senior defense official stated, "I have a real concern of the viability of the all-volunteer force. I really do. I don't see anything changing that's going to right this ship right now. I'll bet there are a lot of good people trying to do everything they can. There are a lot of issues out there that have to be fixed." Another high-ranking Armed Service Committee personnel panel member says the military is on the cusp of a recruiting crisis. He stated, "To put it bluntly, I am worried we're now in the early days of a long-term threat to the all-volunteer force. There's a small and declining number of Americans who are eligible and interested in military service." So what could this possibly mean for us moving forward if people are questioning the all-volunteer service we have now? Lastly, there's a growing want to not join any branch from the younger generation and how they feel about mental health. Ineligibility aside, Generation Z also isn't interested in serving in the military in large part because of a misconception about what it means, and the majority of youth, around 52%, have never even considered the military as an option. ABC News stated from a military official that the top reasons cited for not wanting to join are the possibility of injury or death and fear of developing PTSD or other psychological problems. Bloomberg government stated that the Pentagon officials expressed their greater concern is the number of youth who believe military service will harm them in some way, pointing to the young people's belief that the military service will leave people with psychological problems or difficulties adjusting back to everyday life. Statistics show that between 11 to 20% of troops who serve in Iraq and Afghanistan have post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD in a given year, according to the Veterans Affairs Department National Center for PTSD. That compares to about 6% of the US population as a whole that will have PTSD at some point in life, and about 12 million adults who will have it during a given year. Overall, it is evident that there is a concern for the future of our military forces and how they meet their goals, but it seems that many of the Generation Z members are not even familiar with what the military is actually offering. The Army surveyed 3,000 people earlier this year to determine the public's perception of it, and roughly 1/3 of those polled were Generation Z. Nearly 3/4 of them, 73%, claimed to be familiar with the Army, the highest amount of any generation. But it turned out they weren't informed on what exactly they were offering when it pertains to educational benefits, home buying options, and potential for early retirement. This has caused the Army to shift their campaigns to center around the topics in order to appeal to the Generation Z that they wish to target the most. This will in turn more than likely cause each branch to follow suit as well. Let me know in the comment section what you feel will happen, and what do you feel are some things that could help recruiting more qualified candidates. Thanks for watching as always, and stay tuned for some more military hacks.